After months of rumours and leaks, Call of Duty have finally confirmed that Verdansk will be returning to Warzone on April 3rd. They dropped a somewhat emotional launch trailer with it, so I'm going to break down a few things that I've seen in it, talk about them as well, and also talk about a few things that have been discussed after the trailer. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So I'm not going to play this with any sampling because of, well, copyright music. I don't really want to get done by YouTube or anything like that. So one of the first things that we see in the trailer, about 11 seconds in, is this vehicle. Now, at first thought, I thought that this vehicle was going to be the original SUV that we knew and loved from Verdansk. We're not going to have any of these awful vehicles that we got in Warzone right now. However, later in the trailer, we see an operator hanging out the side of said vehicle. And that vehicle, to me, clearly is currently the armoured SUV that we have right now in Warzone. So it looks like, for ground vehicles anyway, that these are not returning. However, that heli behind it there is the original heli, and there's a few more shots of this in the trailer as well, which makes me think that actually, you know what, original helis could be coming back to Verdansk. However, and this is the biggest however on this vehicle side as well, is that I see something on Twitter that they used the sort of artwork of original helis in the Urzikstan release trailer, and obviously those helis are not in Urzikstan. So who knows what they're going to do for vehicles in Verdansk. I've always said that, especially in my Verdansk wishlist video, that I think original vehicles really need to come back to this map, rather than the absolute dustbin fire of whatever we've got now. Purely because no one uses vehicles anymore in Warzone because, well, they're just pointless. They're redundant, basically. No one likes them, and because of that, no one really wants to rotate with them. Then later in the trailer, we get a bunch of operators next to a downed airplane, which is obviously Boneyard, which is actually one of my favourite places to drop. I used to love dropping Boneyard back in the day. And a few things in this shot. So this operator here is holding what is widely believed to be a kilo. Ghost of Hope leaked that the kilo is potentially coming back to Warzone, and it looks like that is going to be there. And I think that is obviously the kilo. And if we come down to here, this AR here looks to me like it could be my absolute favourite meta of all time. That there looks to me like it's going to be the AMAX. Obviously, the Grau is also rumored to be coming back as well. Neither weapon anywhere in that shot looks to be a Grau to me. So it looks like Kilo and AMAX might be coming up first ahead of the Grau. Now, I've hidden my camera for this bit because you need to see the far right of the screen. And basically, that operator is holding the HDR, which again was leaked to have been coming back. Well, obviously, that confirms it is coming back. This was the original heavy sniper that we had back in Verdansk. People were running the thermal scope on it because that was the first ever sniper meta that we had. So it's great to be seeing that come back. And I'm praying and hoping that they give it an unlimited headshot range with a lot of sort of no aim downside penalties and stuff like that. A few people point out on Twitter of this shot of an operator running their hand along a downed airplane, and it's got these numbers here. Basically, these numbers were one of the original codes to the bunkers back on Verdansk, which they're not going to be in at launch. However, it makes me think that these bunkers are definitely going to be coming back. This trailer basically is just playing on the full nostalgia aspect of Verdansk. But if we get bunkers back in Verdansk, for me, that's a huge win. You know, they really change up like where you drop. Maybe you get a key card and you think, you know what, let's stop what we're doing in the early game and we're going to go to the nearest bunker to loot that. You know, there was a lot of good loot inside bunkers, and there was a lot of things that Call of Duty did with these bunkers back in the day. So hopefully we see them return at some point in the near future. Then it's probably what is a huge, huge win for Verdansk is that the original Gulag, the Showers Gulag, which is, I would say, community favourite Gulag, is obviously going to come back. For me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of these Gulags. I don't know what it was about them, all the different variations of them. I never really cared all that much for them. But they are obviously coming back to Verdansk. They were a staple part of the original Verdansk back in 2020, so it's no surprise that they're coming back. But one of the things that I actually do love about this is that it's these cans of spray paint there, and then this love heart on the wall, which I'm hoping means that we are getting spray emojis back in Warzone. You know, you used to love doing it, man, where you're in a Gulag, you see a sweaty road skin in front of you, so you start lacing them with bright red love hearts, because guess what? You can see them a little bit better when they've got that on. I hope they really come back. They were a really good sort of like cosmetic feature of Warzone back in the day, you know, when we didn't have proc chat, but we had sort of, you know, these kind of different spray paints and stuff like that, you know, like love heart somebody when you down them, say, you know, you can get back up, stuff like that. For me, these were an integral part of Warzone, and it kind of just goes along with Warzone's idea of that you can customize, you know, how you play, but you customize kind of this aspect of it and have sprays and stuff like that. So the fact that they're coming back to Warzone, or it looks like they come back to Warzone, for me, is a big win. Plus, they also make Activision a lot of money because people will just go buy them for stuff, so you know. Then we get a final shot of Verdansk looking at downtown and port from prison, and I will say it, like, I have been sort of managing my expectations for this map, and I know that this map is not going to be how it was back in 2020, but when I saw this shot with the emotional music behind it, which obviously I can't play in this video, I was just all back in, man. I was just like, I'm ready for this. I am so ready for Verdansk to come back and just make an absolute impact on this game again. Hopefully it will. But yeah, seeing downtown and stuff like that is the OG downtown. And there's no Nakatomi Plaza in it. It's going to have the original high building, which I think is this one here, right here. So there's no Nakatomi Plaza. It's going to be the OG downtown. Hopefully these buildings stuff have got more zip lines and stuff like that. But no, for me, like just seeing Verdansk like that, it's never looked more beautiful. And for the first time in a long time, I'm actually excited to play Call of Duty Warzone. So obviously this trailer's generated a lot of hype within the Call of Duty community. It's great to see that we actually have an end date for this sort of rough state of Warzone that we're in, and Verdansk is coming back. However, you look at these YouTube comments on this trailer, and all everyone's going to say is, at this point, just open up the Warzone 1 servers. To everyone out there, let's make it clear to Activision, we don't just want Verdansk back, we want everything back. The movement, the mechanics, the graphics, the sounds, the vehicles. We want OG Warzone. Again, this is the problem that Call of Duty is going to have. Like, a lot of people are after that nostalgia hit from Verdansk, and you can bring back as many different bunkers as you want, as many different weapons as you want. Ultimately, this game does feel 100% different from what it was back 5 years ago when this originally dropped. The game was simple when it dropped. Right now, Omni movement is like an absolute minefield in Warzone, and I think a lot of returning players maybe will not enjoy that. It says, honestly, just open up the Warzone 1 server, and the map is... There's not only the things we love the mechanics, the simplicity. Again, it's just that simplicity aspect of it. Someone says Call of Duty's funeral. I don't think it will be. I think that this map probably will be well received. But yeah, it's not just the map. They want the engine, the movement, the feeling of Modern Warfare 2019. I mean, somewhat, that was a good game. I wouldn't say I want the multiplayer back, but maybe the Warzone aspect of it as well. Something tells me this won't be the same as it once was. Well, of course it won't, because obviously back in 2020 we couldn't go out anywhere. There was a global pandemic raging. Right now I can stop playing games and I can go outside if I wanted to. Couldn't do that in 2020. So the feeling of it is literally just, as you keep scrolling down, Warzone 1, Warzone 1, Warzone 1, you know, Verdansk Black Ops 6, Coffin, Verdansk Modern Warfare 2019, you know, everyone just wants Warzone 1 back. So that was obviously the trailer, and then the reaction to the trailer from the YouTube comments, and then everyone's favourite leaker, the Ghost of Hope, who I've mentioned so many times in my last few videos, put out a few tweets with a few more details about Verdansk and what we can expect from it. There hasn't really been any sort of solid details from Call of Duty or Activision yet, but we can kind of assume that these are going to be absolutely bang on the money. So the first one was a tweet that says no water on Verdansk. So obviously back in the original Verdansk, water was never a thing. Water combat was never a thing. In fact, every sort of water section in Verdansk was frozen over. And in Caldera, the water obviously was a thing around the whole island, but if you ran too far into it, you died. You couldn't swim. Swimming became a mechanic in Warzone 2, and basically you could only fight under the water if you had a pistol. However, that pistol would literally do less than 5 meters like damage range or anything like that. Not if you had to have a pistol on your loadout to be able to use it. That was the next thing. The mechanics were dead clunky, you know, getting in and out of the water, and then only kind of improved that as we went on, and basically said that everyone would automatically have a pistol if you go in the water, and sort of made those gunfights fairer. However, the mechanics of it was still very clunky, getting in and out, just pointless animations. It feels like 3 years on from that, we're now getting rid of water in Warzone, and it's just going back to its original. And for me, personally, that is a win. I think the water really sort of massively impacts rotations and sort of how the map flows and stuff like that. If you remember Verdansk, can you imagine having a river all the way through Verdansk, right from the top dam, all the way down into, like, downtown? For me, personally, that just doesn't work. I feel like the fact that we have this sort of, like, frozen lake / river / dried up riverbeds throughout downtown, for me, personally, that's better. We don't need to be sort of, like, jumping into water and trying to dive and trying to, you know, avoid gunfire and stuff like that. So for me, that is a big win. And then there's been big debate about whether or not Verdansk will stay for a little while and we'll get a new big map. Avalon was planned for this year, and then it kind of been scrapped or shelved in favour of Verdansk. So the Ghost of Hope then said this: Verdansk map updates, new and returning, are planned throughout Black Ops 6 seasons and beyond, potentially to keep people interested. They're not going to keep the map as the OG March 2020 version forever. Now in Warzone right now, we have obviously Urzikstan, which has never really changed all that much, and the fact of the matter is they've reverted these changes when they integrated Black Ops 6. Then we have Rebirth Island, which again hasn't awfully changed an awful lot since we got it back in sort of like the end of 2020 when Cold War integrated. And the map's somewhat similar now as it was almost 4 years ago. And staleness was really set in on Call of Duty. So people are saying that, oh, we're bringing Verdansk back, it's going to be stale and stuff like that. But if you're just going to change different POIs with every season, you're going to sort of open other parts of the map, you're going to change the map a little bit, that keeps it fresh. I will say that for me personally, Warzone in particular has been very stale recently, and then they just went and did the simple tweak of taking Urzikstan from 120 players to 150 players, and all of a sudden the map felt populated, and it felt actually somewhat fun to play. And it was a little bit different from the absolute sweatfest that is Rebirth Island, because I tell you what, there was no casuals left on that map. And it was nice to be able to sort of play something that's just a little bit fresher for a change. You know, I'm actually getting gunfights mid-game, rather than sort of a lot of the start of the match, and then a lot at the end of the match, and nothing in the middle, because I couldn't find anyone. For me personally, it's just little tweaks like that. That's all it needs to keep the game fresh. So little POI changes and little map updates to Verdansk will help keep it fresh. In the long run, you can't just keep Verdansk as the only big map. You are going to have to sort of integrate other big maps. But for me personally, I think they need to find a way of taking these file sizes of these maps, shrinking them, and make them so we can have map rotations throughout Warzone's life cycle. Because for me personally, an Avalon alongside of a Verdansk, and then maybe an Almazra as well, would go very, very hard and actually go a long way to sort of building a lot of trust and faith with the player base, as opposed to just using one map all the time, and that creates just a staleness around it all. So at the time of me recording this, we are 22 days away from the return of Verdansk. It's nice just to know that we've got an end date in sight for when this map is going to drop back, and I'm sure in the coming weeks we're going to be getting obviously full details from Call of Duty about what we're going to expect. Are you excited for the return of Verdansk? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you all in the next one.